Salvete omnes. This is Lisa Klein here with my presentation on the article Teaching Virgil's Aeneid Through Ecofeminism by Lorena Quarteron. It's from the Classical World, and you can find the bibliographical information and a stapled JSTOR link below if you'd like to read the full article. I began my search for an article by simply putting in Virgil and Aeneid in L'Année Philologique. I was hoping to find an article that would be appropriate for our course this fall, but one that I could also present to my high school AP class. The title caught my eye on this one because of the word ecofeminism. I wasn't really familiar with the concept, but I figured that anything that had the phrase feminism in it might be interesting for my classes in particular, since my AP rosters have been made up of exclusively female students since I started teaching the course in 2010, regardless of the fact that we are a co-ed school. So I decided to give this article a look, and as I'd hoped, the author began by speaking about ecofeminism in general. She answered my two main questions: what is ecofeminism, and why should I study it? Ecofeminism has three main precepts: that there is a strong association between the earth and the female in Western culture, that the dominant forces which have shaped the Western culture are masculine, and that masculine forces have subjugated the earth and the female. The last two she also refers to as androcentrism. So why should we bother with thinking of ecofeminism in the context of the Aeneid? The author proposes that it can be used as an interpretive tool for the Aeneid, and a way to make the poem relevant to high school students, which is exactly what I, a teacher of female AP students, was looking for. The author then discussed a few examples of ecofeminism with which my students would be familiar. She maintains that the earth, the natural environment, and the female are strongly associated in history and culture. Some examples that the author gives are the earth goddess Gaia, the Greek goddess of agriculture Demeter, the Roman goddess of agriculture Ceres, Mother Earth. There are also two vocabulary words for earth that are both feminine, terra and tellus. If I were teaching this concept to my students, I'd ask them to brainstorm these sorts of prior knowledge associations between nature and women before we get into how this relates to the Aeneid. The author also discusses the two general views of women and nature and how they apply to the Aeneid. Women can be characterized as fertile, nurturing, and benevolent, essentially motherly. We see this in the Aeneid with Venus following Aeneas and protecting him from the wrath of Juno, and we see this in Dido when we first meet her, and she's a loving leader for the Phoenicians. Yet women can also be characterized as wild, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. Juno, Alecto, Dido in her later actions, and Amata are all fantastic examples of this. This furor, the author argues, is justification or fodder for the subordination of the female by the male. If the women can't keep their anger in check, there's a threat of the re-emergence of chaos. By contrast, the author argues that men are principally characterized by control and pietas. Has anyone ever counted how often our hero is referred to as Pius Aeneas? It's certainly enough times for the epithet to stick in every reader's mind. The author then goes into a lengthy discussion of the opening of the Aeneid and how the storm episode between Juno, Aeolus, and Neptune plays into her theory of ecofeminism. Emotional Juno, she says, enraged by her furor at the Trojans, conveys this anger by inciting a storm, a natural phenomenon. But Juno doesn't have control here, since control is a masculine concept. In order to get the storm brewing, Juno has to appeal to Aeolus, the king of the wings, which shows the male governance over nature and emphasizes the patriarchal structure in the Aeneid and ancient Roman society. Aeolus's cave, a natural place, is described as feta or pregnant, certainly indicative of the feminine, and Aeolus himself is characterized as the one who tames the wild, angry winds, who have those same characteristics as the wild, unpredictable, and uncontrollable women. Once Juno has gotten this storm going by Aeolus, it's Neptune who steps in and suppresses the storm, and he is compared to a stately Roman politician soothing a rowdy mob. Aeolus's dominance over the winds and Neptune's ability to stop the storm are clear examples of androcentrism, which emphasize the ecofeminism displayed in Juno's actions. The article then segues into several more examples of ecofeminism and androcentrism in the Aeneid. We see the forces which destroy Troy and hinder Aeneas as the ones that evoke nature and women. The Greeks are compared to the winds, the seas, and the rivers, all natural phenomenons. The anger of Juno and Minerva is what destroys the city of Troy. and Juno, along with her anger, follows the Trojans and attempts to stop their progress as they're heading for Rome. The author also points out that Virgil uses many comparisons with animals, and within these comparisons, might makes right. As Aeneas, as an oak tree, sustains winds from Dido and Anna's anger, Latinus is compared to a cliff enduring the surf from the Latin women, and Aeneas, as a hunting dog, pursues his prey, Turnus the stag. This shows us that Turnus is going to be defeated because he's compared to a stag, the lesser of the two animals, as the dog and the stag. The author does note that there are a few examples that buck this mold. Camilla displays strength and fighting prowess of a man, while Pallas is young and needing protection, essentially effeminate. Turnus, too, becomes infected with feminine furor and acts as the stereotypical wild, unpredictable, and uncontrollable women after Alecto enrages him. Because of these examples that break the mold, the author notes that for meaningful discussions, ecofeminism must be employed alongside considerations of history, mythology, and intertextuality. Again, the citation below, the article is from the Classical World, and you can find the stable URL here. I found the article highly interesting, and I suggest that any of you who also do read the full article. Thanks.